Well, we're back from winter break. I'm really excited. Are you?
I'm excited,
Yeah, I can hear it in your voice.
exhilarated.
Well, I have a really exciting announcement actually, and that is, I have begun to drink tea.
So, well, on a similar note, I've been reading this book called Bubbles, Bubbles Everywhere.
Wow, very nice, Ethan. Can you read that to us, please?
Yep. Blow some bubbles.
I can't do what? We do have real announcements though, actually. The first one being, we actually got a new editor. Her name is Lorraine. She's over there. So anytime there's like comments, it's no longer me, it's Lorraine.
We also have a logo. You can check it out. It's on everywhere. You could put it as your background. You could put it as your wallpaper. You could put it as like your lock screen, just Review Boys, or you can put our faces as your lock screen. You could have the Review Boys logo as the lock screen, and then when you unlock like
Your home screen.
the home screen.
Are you comfortable with fame, with being on people's lock screens?
I didn't think about that.
Anyways, our third announcement and final announcement is that we're gonna have a Twitter account by the time this video is posted. So that way, you guys can keep up with what possible reviews we might be doing. You can make any requests there for future videos. If you know a band of yours that you like, that makes sense. A band that you like, that
Or
you want
artist.
us to review, or artist, whatever.
Dog.
You can review anything. Let's just get to this review. Chelsea Cutler. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a very big fan of Miss Chelsea. I've been to one of her what are those called, concerts in Austin. That was earlier last year now.
She
in
stole your
2019.
volleyball.
She did. We have a picture of that.
It's pretty cool.
It
She
was,
seems like super chill, like super down to earth.
yeah, she was. I mean, like obviously I didn't like hang out with her or anything, but we were just in line and she like came out to talk to some fans, and yeah, it was pretty chill. She seemed nice. So that makes reviewing her music all the more awkward. No, she started making music in her room, I think around 2016, 2017, and started uploading to SoundCloud, YouTube, and quickly got a really big fan base. I started listening to her the summer of 2018, which was about the same time that her first mixtape, Sleeping with Roses, came out. Was a pretty big fan, enjoyed it a lot. I think what really cemented her as like one of my favorite underground artists was just that I would listen to her mixtape with my good friend, and we were both big fans of her, and we would just like play video games late into the night and listen to that album on repeat. So it's that like memory association that really makes me a big fan of her, if that makes sense. And then Sleeping with Roses 2 came out late 2018, right? Rachel's not paying attention. Really also enjoyed that mixtape. But Ethan, I know you hadn't really listened to her up until this review, so what were your
No,
thoughts?
I think I had only heard maybe like one collab with Jeremy Zucker or something like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't know quite what to expect, except that I knew she was kind of bedroom pop, sort of that introspective electronic vibe. But yeah, it's pop, it's fun, it's cool, it's hip.
So cool. Yeah, I guess one thing, if you're talking about Chelsea Cutler, you kind of have to talk about Jeremy Zucker. They're good friends, frequent collaborators. They put out an EP, a very short EP, this past early summer, late spring, called Brent. So the thing with Chelsea Cutler, she really walks this fine line between like upbeat music and really sad lyrics. Like all of her lyrics are sad. Like she has yet to write a song that is like happy, except for this album. So this album was the first time so previous to this, all sad stuff. It's all kind of about broken relationships, which is fine. I'll expand on that later. But so yeah, I think especially with Sleeping with Roses 2, she kind of realized if she's going to be performing and touring, she kind of has to have some upbeat stuff in order to perform well, which I don't think there's a problem with that. And like I said, I think she did it really well. For example, Cold Showers is like without a doubt one of my favorite songs ever. It was like my number one song on Spotify. Just never got tired of it, and it's like a really good mix of like, this relationship is broken and I don't feel good about it, but the song is really upbeat and it vibes, so I rolled with it. But with this album, I think there was more mixed results with that kind of song, the upbeat music with sad lyrics. Songs like What Would It Take, I think, just don't work as well as being upbeat and having a sad message or reflecting on the broken relationships that she often does. On the other hand, Sad Tonight was probably the strongest cut on this album, in my opinion, where it was sad and upbeat, and it worked really well, I think. The reason I think that one stuck out to me was because I understand the sentiment of the lyrics the most. That being, she's saying, oftentimes your friends kind of want you to go out and forget that you're in a bad mood, and they kind of think that, oh, you're fine, you're good, but in reality you need to spend time by yourself to process those emotions. So I think that song really works for me because that makes sense. I think that's something that I've experienced, which makes it work really well. But more often than not, I just found the upbeat songs really difficult to relate to because the lyrics often use really melodramatic romantic tropes that she has like very consistently used as her writing style. For example, she always says stuff kind of like, you don't want me and I need somebody,
or I keep checking my phone, or
yeah,
messages.
I don't understand why you don't want me. I couldn't be enough. It's all just like, it's so sad, and it's I can't quite put my finger on why some of her sad lyrics work and some of them don't. And I think a lot of it does have to do with the musical background she uses. But yeah, like some of them just like hit me right in the heart and make me sad, and then others I'm just like completely turned off to. But I've rambled enough. What are you thinking, Ethan?
Yeah, I think in some cases the upbeat, highly produced songs work really well with her lyrics, and they do a really good job of like putting these two different ideas kind of together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think for the majority of the album, there's just a lot of the lyrics just kind of don't stick out as anything extra poetic or lyrical.
Yeah.
And they're very predictable. Like I said, I think she mentions like looking at old messages.
No, she said she was gonna listen back to old calls when they would talk for hours.
Yeah.
I was confused. Did she record phone calls?
Maybe. That's kind of creepy. Well, I don't know.
It's a little like.
It's a little, yeah.
Why did you do that?
It is. It's really sad.
Yeah, I mean that's.
And I guess. And then at the same time, there are these sad songs, because I think she's kind of in this weird territory where she's kind of starting to come out of that, writing all these sad songs all the time and trying to experiment with like happy ideas, happy production. And sometimes the mix works really well, at other times it's kind of hit and miss. And I think that's why I see this album as like, there are some good singles on here, but
as far as like a cohesive project, it didn't really come to, I'm kind of beating it to the punch, but it didn't really come together, at least in my opinion. Yeah, I didn't really talk much about my expectations. I forgot to do that, but walking in, I was kind of like, okay, she's had two small projects that address like very specific cohesive ideas, and they kind of worked together as like part 1 and 2. And I was really hoping that she could like distance herself from that, but I think she's kind of already dug herself in this like niche hole of like specifically writing about heartbreak, which for me personally, I just don't think it's like the best move if you're trying to like become just a better artist in general. But the thing is, like, okay, looking at like her Twitter account and like her fans, they're all very like, it's kind of a groupthink situation where like everyone's just kind of patting each other on the back, and it's like very hard like standing that you would see with like Ariana Grande or Taylor Swift or something like that. And so I think she's just kind of feeding into this like, oh, this is what my fans want, which you can't really like hate on that either. Like if that's what you want to do, if you want to feed your fans, like. But for me, I just like specifically with this project, like so it's called How to Be Human. This kind of big idea of like humanness is obviously so big, and I think you could have just done so much with that concept and that idea, and it all was just kind of drowning for me in this idea of broken relationships.
Yeah.
And there were like we just got little glimpses of that like how to be human theme that weren't about relationships, and they were just drastically so much more interesting to me than all the stuff that was about, you know, and I get like obviously you're gonna get some of that, like a healthy amount of that is fine, I think, but I think we got like an unhealthy amount of broken, like it just got very repetitive, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So
yeah, sometimes I think she focused so much on her own brokenness or her own like heartbreak, and that's, I don't know, you could have, I think, looked outward in a lot of ways for,
but then she wouldn't be introspective electro indie pop. Like when I mentioned times that she didn't talk about broken relationships, the second verse of Human Condition, for starters, probably one of my favorite songs. She finally moves away a little bit from the similar sounds that she'd be using. It's a more stripped acoustic guitar, more natural sounds, and has like a really nice vocal glissando. The second verse of this song is like by far my favorite. She references like tattooing herself with a Bible verse, and she mentions how validation might as well be a drug. Like it was just so much, it was like you just stepped into one idea of like more complexities and nuances of the human experience, aside from just like suffering from broken relationships. And I wish we got more of that. Another example where I wish we just got more of that type of writing, she finishes the song I Miss You with, I'm not the person I want to be. And I just, like it, of course this is in relationship to, or in relation to a relationship that is not going well. And I just wish she expanded more on that. Like, what does that mean? Like, what kind of person do you want to be? You know, how does that look like in comparison to your work ethic and your career as a musician and all this other stuff?
Yeah, I think some of the songs, like, it's just kind of the same message. It's like her just repeating the same, I need to change, I am heartbroken, over and over again. And we don't get maybe different themes of that, or no. And I do think this album, I was actually surprised a lot of the songs, like, musically kind of go together well. Like, as far as transitions, I thought they were, like, decent. Like, it kind of made sense.
I thought some were good and some
But as far as, like, the lyrical messages overall, or general themes of the album, there's no journey that's being taken. It's just like someone sitting at home.
And she mentioned in interviews and stuff that, like, the idea was kind of like part of being human is like dealing and coping with sadness. And she talked about how like oftentimes we just kind of want to avoid that pain. And so like especially with Sad Tonight, like the idea is to not run away from the pain and to like experience it and be like, okay, like this is a thing that's happening, I should deal with this. Which I kind of get, but like I really didn't like how she portrayed it as like being right. Like she says, I need to be sad tonight because it feels so right. And I feel like there's a difference between needing to process emotions and thinking that being sad is right, which I feel like that's just like not the message that she meant to send, but it is what she said. So those like really coded heavy vocals I usually enjoy. She just has such an angelic voice, like it's just so pretty.
Yeah.
Very talented singer, of course. And I don't mind the auto-tune, but I could understand someone being like,
Well, it wasn't the auto-tune, it was like some sort of vocal effect.
The vocal effect, okay, gotcha.
But I'm not like a super huge fan of her voice, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, it sounds kind of
is a little
like
interesting.
Grassy. That's the word I have for it. What do you think about Jeremy Zucker features?
Oh, that made me mad.
Really?
Well, because like you know that song already like was released. It was on Brent. It was on the EP that they put together.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so they called it a bonus track, but it's not.
It's literally
bonus.
just the same track.
Yes, I was like maybe they changed it. No.
See, that was one of my favorite tracks on it, but I didn't know that it was basically just reused material.
I mean, well, that's something I was like, who the frick has not listened to this song already? But I guess
yeah, me.
But That's funny. It was like wildly different than any of the other songs. Right?
True. Yeah, it was different.
I don't know. I guess New Recording 28 too. Of course, is like it's a voice memo like recorded on her phone. That was a really interesting track. Another like where I felt like the emotions of the lyrics I feel like I listened to it one last time before we did this review. We did this filming right now, and I was just like, dang, I'm so sad. So, hat off to you, Chelsea. Made me sad. I guess the biggest production comment is, of course, I get on my rant about not like punching me in the face emotionally, because she takes a couple songs and they have these potential to build, and they do a little bit, and then it's just kind of like over. Did you catch that at all?
Yeah.
I think Crazier Things had the most potential, and the thing is, like, it's already a 5-minute long song, and she has this like really cool guitar solo at the end with like some chromaticism, and it's like kind of like far back in the mix, but it's also loud. And I really wish it just like went nuts. It just like started going crazy. Like just add another loop of like just everything going nuts, and then it cuts to this like really pretty like acoustic guitar by itself, but it only does that for like 2 seconds, and I was like, just let this song go. Like just do a ton of like screaming guitar, and then cut back to the really thin, simple stuff. So just like
none of the songs really had a clear like dynamic map, I suppose.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Her song from her first mixtape, the song "Reason," the reason, like the structure of it just felt so like well planned and like well executed. But on this one, I feel like she's kind of like running out of like ideas. I don't know. I feel like nitpicky saying that, but I think you would agree.
Yeah, I agree.
This one was just tough. I have to like. This review was just tough because I feel weird saying this. I was like in a bad mood when I first listened to it. I was like leaving, and I'm not gonna try and explain it. I don't know why. I was just like, I just don't like this album, and I think it had to do with, like I said, my expectations. I was kind of afraid of like some of the problems that I was afraid of. Just the whole like wanting her to address new topics lyrically, maybe expand her production style a little bit, stay within that like pop ethos, but like do something different. And like once all those fears kind of came true, that was like the only thing I could focus on because I was in a bad mood. And so I was like, I don't like this album, and she's like one of my favorite artists. So I was really disappointed, and I was like at church camp anyways over the weekend, and so I just kind of ignored it. But I was in a better mood when I listened to it the next time, and so it's kind of grown on me. I know I said a lot of like negative things about the I feel like we focused mostly on the negatives, but overall, it's mostly just mixed feelings. Like each song, there's no one song where I was like, okay, this is all terrible or this is all good. They're all just like mixed feelings, and so I think that's why I'm gonna end on a light 5. But it's like a mixed 5. It's not an indifferent 5. It's a mixed 5.
Yeah, I didn't really have expectations, so I wasn't shocked by any of the production necessarily, like maybe you were. And like I said, I think the production is one of the strongest parts of this. I think there are definitely some tracks that were enjoyable, but I say tracks, I don't say the whole album, and I wouldn't want to just listen to this album all the way through. It's not the album you'd want to do that with.
Yeah.
That being said, there are a couple of tracks that like I still enjoy, and I think I can still appreciate the work that was put into this, especially on some of the songs. And I'm willing to give it an indifferent 5, because you didn't give it an indifferent 5.
Yeah, so those are different.
Yeah, different types of 5s.
I don't think we've ever landed on a 5 together.
We've never landed on any number together.
Have we not? No, we both gave Hobo a 6.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you clearly can tell that today was rough because we have not filmed the review in like a month. Thank you for your patience. Hope you enjoyed it, regardless. Ethan, what's cracking in the Preacher's Boy?
They were stealing food.
They were stealing food. I'm cool with it. That's a little
But I wanted to show the cute picture.
Maybe we'll put it in the bloopers.
Okay, that's okay.
Do you need to cry? It's okay. Let our emotions out here.
She's been making music since before she could remember.
Really?
I don't know, probably she'd be like, I've been making music since I was 8.
I've complained about this before, but like Spotify bios are so unhelpful. Like, want
Yeah.
to see like when she started making music, how she grew to success. Her
Yeah.
bio says hi. Literally one word. Okay. She makes electro, indie, introspective bedroom pop.
Kind of like me and Shakira.
Do you want to expand on that?
No, that's all we need.
Okay. So like stuff like that we'll probably cut. Oop. It was fun. I liked it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cut that out. That was